Hi everyone. For this month's video, I'm going a little bit in a different direction here. I'm sort of going to be playing devil's advocate for a practice that on its face may not seem very beneficial to students, and that is the idea of taking lesson time to film or record students. And again, I unfortunately have seen this used in a way that can be not the best use of lesson time, or even in some cases is really just for the purposes of the teacher and not student-centric. And that is something I will never advocate for. But I do think that this can be a really helpful practice, and I'd like to go through some of the reasons why. So whether you're a student, a parent, or a teacher yourself, hopefully I can make the case today for filming students during lesson time. When it comes to filming students in lessons, it can actually be beneficial both for the teacher and the student. One of the things I really like about it is that it pulls me outside of my normal box. Usually when I am listening to a student playing or singing something, I'm following along on music, or I'm purposefully not watching them so that they don't feel like they're on display and being analyzed. And when I'm recording a student in a lesson, all of a sudden, because I have to focus on literally keeping a student in a frame, I have to be watching them. And so sometimes this is helpful in bringing my focus outside of the oral and more onto the visual, because I might be catching technical errors that I wouldn't normally have noticed. Or I could be noticing things like jaw tension, or collapsing knuckles, or things that just wouldn't have really been on my radar otherwise, or that maybe would have gone by for a couple weeks. And that's not to say that I never look at students when they are in lessons, but I typically make more of a practice of focusing on what I hear rather than what I see. Filming students is a great way to get outside of that box. The second thing I really like about this idea is it gives students a safe space to practice performing. Performing is just like any other skill, so the more that we work on it, the more we gain this ability to deal with it and to handle it and to cope with it well. Not only that, but to succeed in it and feel like it comes more naturally. Well, if the only time you practice performing or get a chance to expose yourself to any symptoms of performance anxiety is when you're actually performing, you may only be working on it a couple times a year, or maybe not at all. Being filmed in a lesson is a great opportunity to work on that when you're not on display in front of a huge audience, right? You're in an environment that you know, you're comfortable, there's not likely a lot of people around, but your brain will still interpret being filmed as being watched. So it's a great way to work on those skills, and really easy to do on a regular basis. Another great thing about recording students during lessons is it provides me with another way to share a student's progress with their family. If parents choose not to sit in on a lesson on a regular basis, they may not be hearing all of the feedback that I'm giving from week to week. But I can share specific things that a student has done really well by capturing it in the lesson and sending it on to the parents. Plus, for parents or grandparents who aren't normally around to hear a student practicing on a regular basis, this can be a great way to send off a quick musical memento and share a little bit of that process with those other family members. The fourth benefit I've noticed is that by recording students in lessons and then having them watch their recordings back, it can lead to light bulb moments of things that they weren't catching before when it comes to their technique or their artistry. It's always a different experience when you're in the moment performing your piece versus listening to a recording back. You're going to experience it in a much different way. So if students aren't normally doing that at home, this is a great chance to encourage them to step outside of their own comfort zone and analyze their piece when they're not currently in the moment performing it. And of course, we can't ignore the social media angle. Now, if social media was the only or primary purpose of recording students in lessons, I don't think I would support it. However, it can be, again, a very useful tool for both teacher and student. If a student does something particularly well in a lesson, it can feel extra celebratory to record it and share it, because it means that they really did a great job and their efforts are going to be publicly seen and praised by others on social media. Parents can then also share the posts and continue to celebrate the progress that their child has made because we recorded something in their lesson. And for teachers, I think one of the main reasons that music teachers have social media is because it's free advertising. So it does give us a great way to be able to share the progress of our students, give other people an insight into what our students are working on and the type of skills that they are learning and their growth, so that they can get a little bit of a window into what goes on inside the studio and maybe get a better idea of whether or not we might be a good fit for their own musical goals. Ultimately, the idea of recording students in lessons, in and of itself, it's not necessarily a bad or a good thing. It all depends on how you use it. And hopefully I've made at least a little bit of a good argument for using this practice during students' lesson time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next month.